January 6th now holds space for Kamala Harris. Regardless of what you believe in or who you cast your vote for, anyone having to certify their own loss is just embarrassing. The reaction in the Senate was, you saw it. Joining me now is Kamala Harris Impressionist, creator, and comedian Estee Palti. Hi, Estee, how are you?
How are you, Katie? Thank you for having me.
Good, of course. So first, I just want to draw attention to something that Kamala said, referring to January 6th as a day that America's democracy stood. I didn't really ever see that coming, so let's just unpack that a little.
Well, she calls it, a day possibly worse than September 11th. She said that in the past. She's tried to make it seem like it's one of the gloomiest days of history that we've had. She's not that much far off from The View, and Sunny Hostin also coming out and saying that this was just such a dark day for Americans. But, all these years later, I can genuinely say that after everything what she put this country throughout her own administration, she really doesn't have a leg to stand on to say that democracy stood still that day. And also, we're a constitutional republic.
Exactly. So Kamala, alongside fellow Democrats, have continued emphasizing that peaceful transfer of power from the day that she lost. But bear with me, I've heard so many calls to stand up and speak out, organize and mobilize as forcefully as we can. That's from former President Barack Obama. This is real conflicting messaging coming from the left. So what do you make of this?
It's the same thing that they've done the entire 4 years. They say things that sound sweet and nice to the people. They feel like we're stupid enough to sit there and believe it and take it by what they say, when the very next day, because we're so dumb and have the memory span of probably a pigeon, that they can just flip-flop, the same way. She did the same thing with her campaign. She ran it the same way. She said, we're going to ban fracking. We're not banning fracking. She was for women's reproductive rights, and she continued to say that the rights of women are going to be taken away under Donald Trump, with nothing to stand behind that. So again, it's just the disaster that is this administration. It's almost like a dream that won't end, or I should say a nightmare. Even though, she was the losing candidate, she still stands there firm and strong, and she sounds like she really thinks that she has a chance to try to do this again, possibly in 2028.
Yeah, it almost seems as if she's more of an actress than she is a political servant that she claims she's been for so many years. But something that I just found comical with all of those claims from her, it's also very concerning. This clip, I'll get your reaction on the other side.
Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Pledge of Allegiance of all things. Have you seen that clip?
You just can't make this up. I gotta tell you, when you meet Nancy Pelosi and you're friends with her for a long time, well, she introduces you to her little black book, and she got, some of the best cocktails written out there, some of the best little concoctions. Maybe if you mix it with some prescription pills, you're going to be feeling like a lot of your words are going to be slurring. And, I think that that's what happened here.
We've definitely seen a lot on social media of people saying that. Obviously, these last couple of months have been pretty difficult for Miss Harris. So, but like you said, the Pledge of Allegiance of all things, her being that so-called public servant for as long as she claims, how does that happen?
I really don't know. She's had a lot of fumblings like this, and it's almost like you got to ask, it can't get any worse. You keep on thinking like, okay, well, she can't fumble something this easy, or that, she couldn't even sit down for a full interview, Katie. At the end of the day, we need to be honest. And the Democratic Party needs to be honest with itself and admit that she was a very weak candidate. I don't think that they ever expected her to really have to fight for it based on what we saw on July 13th. I'm going to, I'll die saying that on this hill, that they didn't have a plan B for whatever was going to happen. But I will say that she's been unprepared in many situations, as someone that's watched her, as someone that has had to sit through a lot of her speeches, a lot of her meetings. And now a lot of the aftermath is coming out that, she rejected to give all 16 questions. I think the Teamster president said that earlier of the union, where he said, all the presidential candidates, they've answered these 16 tough questions. She's only able to do 3. Same happened with the Joe Rogan podcast. He offered her the platform. Her campaign was playing games. At the end of the day, Katie, this is not something that you can fake till you make. There are some things that you should walk into the room confidently like you own the place, and you have to fake it till you make it. But being president of the United States is never going to be one of them. And I think that through all her fumbles that she's really shown that. And it's really hard to not feel empathetic for her at this point, because you can't keep fumbling this much. From the time that she came on, that first concession speech that she gave, I'm sorry, but she looked under the influence. I'm sure you've seen it all across social media. Things like fumbling the Pledge of Allegiance. As someone that was district attorney, a state senator, a vice president, it's just not a good look. It's not a good look for women, and it's not a good look for America, and it never was. And, it's really hard to have that empathy for her, but that's all we can have. So,
So something that I have been excited to ask you is kind of what's next for you. I know you're doing a lot right now, but, since Kamala may be out of the public eye for good, who knows? What do you think?
I do think she might consider taking a stab at running for governor, maybe because she thinks she has enough ties to try to push her in through there. I'm sure she's made a lot of networking connections while she was vice president. And, these people can really spin anything, and people do forget. So if she thinks she can come back stronger than ever, that's probably the only shot she would have if she does decide to run for governor. But as far as I'm concerned, really, there are just so many things that we can laugh at the Democratic Party. And I've had a lot of the fans really asking, to take a stab at AOC. And, I'll tell you what I tell everyone else, stay tuned. For now, the people really do still want as much Kamala as they can squeeze out of me. And she's obviously a plethora of content for me all the time, like no matter what, just even a small appearance like the Pledge of Allegiance, things that shouldn't even really be, content worthy, they are. So, I'm on the Mean Show on X on Twitter, and we have a Bobby Kennedy impressionist and a Trump and a Barack Obama. And even though, even Bill Clinton we have on there. And it's so fun. And I think it's just giving people the levity that they want during this, somewhat transition. And, who knows? I'm always still in touch with a lot of the people that I've met across these 4 years. So we will see. But, the best is still to come.
Absolutely. And laughter is the greatest medicine. So I hope to see so much more from you. All right. Estee, thank you so much for coming on. I hope to see more from you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.